Hey guys, Tony Denaro here. Happy Saturday. I hope each and every one of you is having a fantastic weekend. In a recent video I did, a live stream with a special guest, we went over the topic of daily short volume, hopefully to educate you guys on what it is, give you something more to dig into and learn a little bit more about that topic. But in the comments after that video, I got a very good question. Why was on balance volume not talked about? OBV. You've heard about OBV probably if you've been in AMC over the last couple years. I don't talk about it, but in this video, because of this recent question, and it does come up from time to time, I'm going to share my thoughts with you about OBV. Let's get right into it. All right, for you non-technical traders or those who just want to learn about OBV, let's go over a very quick recap and then we'll get into some examples, and I'm going to talk about why I do not use OBV. Let's get the definitions out of the way first. OBV is a volume indicator. When a security closes higher than the previous day, all of the day's volume is considered up volume and adds to the OBV indicator. When the security closes lower than the previous day, all of the day's volume is considered down volume and decreases the OBV indicator. The actual value of the OBV is not important. What we're looking for is changes in direction, especially if we're comparing it to the price or to other indicators. And we're looking for divergence, either bearish divergence or bullish divergence. We'll talk about that in just a second. Here on this chart, you can see the prices up at the top, the OBV indicator, the green line on the bottom half of the chart. And again, just to recap the way that this green line moves up or down, highlighted down here in the bottom. If today's close is greater than yesterday's close, we add today's volume to yesterday's OBV. That would make the green line go up. If today's close is less than yesterday's close, we take yesterday's OBV and we subtract today's volume. That would make OBV go down. And if today's close is equal to yesterday's close, then OBV today equals OBV yesterday, and you would have a flat spot on the green line. The proper way to use OBV is to use it in combination with price or other indicators and look for bullish or bearish divergences. And we have an example here on this chart to go through. You can see at the top where the price is increasing with this black line, and we have the OBV declining. That is going to signal to you that there is likely a price decline ahead. And sure enough, on this chart, you can see that the price started going down. The reason I don't use OBV when I'm talking about AMC is there is a widely incorrect assumption that you find all the time on Reddit. You can see many posts, even recent ones, and on YouTube, there's people putting out videos, even today, every week, once or twice a week, talking about AMC OBV and how it is supposed to be indicating that nobody has sold. That is not a proper use of the OBV indicator. I'm going to go through that with you now. The limitation with OBV, and I want you guys to rewind and listen to this as many times as you need to for it to sink in, is that on a green day, OBV attributes all volume to buyers. It attributes all volume to buyers. It acts like there's no sellers on a green day. And conversely, on a red day, OBV attributes all volume to sellers. Now, we know as traders intuitively that even on a green day, not all volume should be attributed to buyers. For every order, there's both a buyer and a seller, and that is a limitation of OBV, and it can give you some misleading results if you don't understand how OBV works. Fortunately, we have some other indicators which overcome the limitations of OBV. The first thing that I want to point out is the enormity of the volume in January of 2021 and June of 2021. Remember, OBV is a volume indicator. These are tremendous volume, almost in some cases, 500,000 shares, 700 million shares, compared to the relatively lower volume throughout the remainder of 2021, 2022, and here in the beginning of 2023. Remember, OBV is a cumulative volume indicator, so on any day where the price closes higher than the previous day, you're going to add that day's volume to the previous OBV value. As we zoom in to January 2021 here, you can see these massive volume days. Here on January 27th, 2021, the volume traded was 1.25 billion shares, and the price closed higher than the previous day. That caused this enormous jump in OBV. We had the next day, the price closed down, so OBV went down a little bit. And then we had two more massive volume days where the price closed higher than the previous day, bumping OBV up. Remember, we just looked at the limitations of OBV. On these up days, it treats all of this volume as if it were only buyers, even though there were people selling for every buy order. Between January and June, the volume dropped off considerably. We have very little low volume trading days, and the OBV indicator just didn't move a whole lot because even though we're adding and subtracting to it, when you take the enormity of the volume on January, it's very hard to move the OBV on small volume days after that. Then we get to June of 2021. Again, here you can see in late May into early June, we had 6 or 7 days of the price closing higher than the previous day. And every single one of those days increased the OBV. The volume from the previous day added to the OBV. Remember, OBV assumes every order was a buyer, so you get this massive, again, push up on OBV, even though every order had a buyer and a seller. After these massive moves up on the OBV indicator in January and June of 2021, the price of AMC declined, and it looks like OBV stayed relatively flat. But that is mainly because the volume of AMC was just a fraction every other day after that compared to these two periods in January and June of 2021. So much buying volume in those two periods that you'd need a massive sell-off day, billions of shares traded on a red day to see the OBV go down if you're looking at a 1-year chart or a 2-year chart on AMC. In reality, for the AMC chart, if we take those two periods out, if we start looking at any time after July of 2021, you can see that there is actually a lot of upward and downward momentum on the OBV. It's only when you zoom out and include these high volume days that it looks really, really flat. Actuality, it is not flat. It is moving up and down. And if you want to use OBV, do not look at the periods prior to June of 2021. You're going to get a false indication that OBV is not moving. So it is incorrect, unfortunately, to use OBV to make an assumption that nobody is selling because of, by definition, the way OBV is calculated. On an up day, it counts all of the volume only as buying volume. And we have not had any down days where we've had a billion shares traded. If we did, you would see OBV go down. But we have had a year and a half of downward momentum in the price of AMC on very low volume, and that's just not going to be moving the OBV indicator if you're including the periods of January and June of 2021. So now let's talk about how do we overcome this limitation? What can we use to be better traders? I want to introduce to you two other indicators. I can do a separate video on them. In fact, I probably will, to help you become a better trader and overcome the limitations of OBV. The first one here in the middle is the MFI, or the money flow indicator. The one on the bottom here in the orange is the ADL, or the accumulation distribution line. The MFI, or the money flow indicator, the money flow index, is a momentum indicator that measures the flow of money into and out of a security over time. We're going to go back and look at that on the chart. And the accumulation distribution line is an indicator that is also cumulative, but it uses both volume and price to assess whether a stock is being accumulated or distributed. Let's look now at these two compared to the OBV on AMC since January of 2021. Using these indicators together is actually very powerful, and I always recommend don't ever use one indicator when you're analyzing a stock. I think that is pretty basic technical analysis advice. You never want to make decisions based off of one indicator. And these three work really well together. Notice the OBV here at the top going up and then staying relatively flat. However, when you're looking at the MFI, you can see in January, as the stock started selling off, the money flow index shows those money flows out. Same within June, you can see it going down. And even more telling is the ADL line. You can see it spiking up in January of 2021. You can see it spiking up again in June of 2021, and then following the stock price, because it measures both volume and price, this has trended down. So this is actually a more accurate representation showing the distribution of AMC stock as people have been selling. Let me know down in the comments if you found this video helpful, or if you hated it, you can let me know that too. It is my goal to educate you guys how to read these technical indicators, how not to get in the trap of only looking at one. And if you want to see more videos specifically about these indicators, I'm happy to do that for you. Hit the like button and share if you got value out of this video. If this is your first time here, don't forget to buy and hold that subscribe button, and I will see you on the next video.